I am so excited to do this video. I'm a little later than what I would have liked to have been, but better late than never, right? Hey everyone, come on in and get comfortable. A few months ago, I had no idea what a book tag was. Now, in my youth, I was a bit of a computer nerd, so I understood or understand what a tag is in reference to computing. Tags or metadata are used to organize, identify, or categorize content and information. This, of course, helps users and systems manage information more efficiently. I'm usually a little late to trends, so when I saw videos titled book tags popping up on my feed towards the end of last year, I was introduced to a new and fun way of discovering and recommending books online. For those of you that were late to the party like moi, a book tag is a series of book-related questions or prompts that can cover a wide range of topics, from favorite books and authors to reading preferences. I didn't realize there was a name for these types of videos, and I've already done something similar. My Never Have I Ever video could be considered a book tag. So with all of that said, that is what I'm doing today. I've scored tons of lists online and picked out a few to share with you all. As always, feel free to interact in the comments and respond to these tags too. I read Between Friends and Lovers in February and loved it so much. On the outside looking in, Dr. Joe has this perfect life, and thousands tune in online to watch her share digestible medical tips and self-care education. She's connected to a very wealthy family and their American heartthrob of a son, Ezra Aldman. Though off camera, Dr. Joe has a lot to work through, such as burnout that is affecting her mental health and the fact that she is in love with Ezra. After seemingly being rejected by Ezra, she unexpectedly meets Malcolm Waters, and something starts to bloom between them. I absolutely love the balance between the romance and reading about these characters working through personal issues in a very healthy way. What Dr. Joe went through, I feel like is relatable and realistic. And then I loved Malcolm. He is such a great example of a man who doesn't swing around his masculinity and had some very vulnerable moments of his own. Through it all, he was super patient, super understanding of what Dr. Joe was working through, while still staying true and honest with what he wanted for himself and their new connection. For those of you that have been hanging with me for a little minute, you already know which one I'm gonna say, and it is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. ADOC has hands down been the best sequel of the year, and I feel like it's probably gonna be the best sequel for the whole year. The mystery was more complex, the stakes were higher, and Dean and Anna's partnership reached a new level of trust and respect. For those of you that aren't familiar with ADOC or the series it comes from, it is a biopunk mystery with some thrill. This is only the second book that I've read of Bennett's, but I don't think that he could do any wrong with what he decides to write. The synopsis of this next book has me super interested, and the cover is disturbing enough that it would catch any reader's attention on a bookshelf. Jess has had her hands full trying to figure out how to save her struggling acting career when she finds a 5-year-old boy hiding outside of her apartment. She learns very quickly why the little boy is alone. After a violent encounter with the father, she takes the little boy to help and runs away. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. As they run, they leave a gruesome trail behind them. What I can't figure out though is what character is the one to be afraid of. Is it the little boy? Is it the father? Or is it something else entirely? I love that this synopsis has me guessing. And again, this cover is disturbing. I wouldn't want to wake up and look out my window and see that, but it's chef's kiss. Imagine forcibly attending an academy that advertises they can reform you and your gifts so that you can have a normal life after graduation. But on the day of graduation, the faculty goes on a rampage and starts eating your classmates. Yeah. Alyssa and a group of her classmates manage to escape to the school's library, and the faculty is demanding one sacrifice every night, or they'll break down the door and no one will survive. I'm still keeping an eye out on a fantasy inspired by tarot and actually creates a world where each of the suits are embodied. I thought I had found that in Kirsten Cast's The Empress and was surely disappointed. There was so much potential for this book, but the personification of the tarot was very underutilized. The author really only personified 2 of the major arcana, and there were characters with the names of other arcana, but only in name. There was no system or ability of divinity with anyone other than the main character, and to me, she did not embody the Empress. While this author is not new to publishing, they are new to me. I read his work, The Dead Cat Tales Assassins, and I've learned that P. Jelly Clark is an award-winning Hugo, Nebula, Sturgeon, and World Fantasy nominated author. And I'll be honest, I don't know what criteria is considered to end up with one of these awards, but based off of what I've read of his, I think he is deserving of the consideration and the attention. The Dead Cattail Assassins was a fast-paced, action-packed fantasy novella with characters with questionable morality. I think that this author showcased his ability to create a polished story, background, and characters. A book that has made me cry this year has been rereading In Covenant with Ezra by Love Belvin. In Covenant with Ezra is the first book of a series, and the whole series really is a go-to for me, but specifically the first book, and it is a contemporary African-American romance with drama and lots of spice. I cried the first time I read this, and I continue to tear up every time I reread it. I understand and connect with some of the personal challenges the main character, Alexis, goes through. She faces so many challenges and obstacles, many of which alone, all the while trying to support loved ones and be there for her community. Then comes along a partner that not only has the physical wherewithal, but the spiritual and mental wherewithal to share in her burdens and support her in her healing journey. Even though I know how the story ends every time I read it, I continue to root for her to get the happily ever after she deserves. In my case, for this tag, it is going to be the most beautiful book I've borrowed from the library this year. And I will say it has to be Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. So let's break down the cover a little bit. What I think initially will capture people's attention is all of the red. Red conveys status, power, and represents blood, as this is a read that involves vampiric elements. I'm not sure what flower is supposed to be represented behind her, but she is surrounded by them with contrasting white blooms. Lastly, the main event. All of the details on her dress and accessories, from the motifs on her gown to the string neck corset to the ruby claw armor on her hands. She is sending a message loud and clear. Can you hear it? You know how a child, usually the younger ones, try to get your attention to tell you about something?
Mommy! Mommy! Mama! Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
Sometimes they're not even making sense, but because you love them, you indulge them anyway and halfway tune out. Well, in Anastasia Miller's case, her parents are in for a rude awakening because since the age of 3, she has been telling them and anyone else that would listen that she is an alien disguised as a human. She also tells them that her biological family is on their way to bring her home. A signal from outer space has been received, and humanity is finally realizing it's not alone in the cosmos. This next one I think I'm going to say specifically for the fall, possibly around Halloween time, and it is Never Whistle at Night, an indigenous dark fiction anthology. Many indigenous people believe that you should never whistle at night, and this belief takes place in many forms. The native Hawaiians believe it summons the Hakaipo, the spirits of ancient warriors, and native Mexicans believe it summons Lechuza, a witch that can transform into an owl. The commonality between all of these legends is that for certain, whistling at night can cause evil spirits to appear and to even follow you home. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up with a lot of superstitions and spiritual what not to do's as well. And I'm not looking to add any more to my repertoire, but I think I'd be missing out on learning more about indigenous beliefs if I didn't give this a read. I'd like to finish at least one series this year, and I am in the middle of so many. And the Plated Prisoner series is the one that I think I'm closest to finish reading. I've read the first 3 out of 5, and each book has been better than the last in terms of the drama and the intensity of what is happening. So definitely it's my goal to finish this series up. You know how your eyes get really tired, strained after you've been reading a while, and of course with you being a book glutton, you don't want to put the book down, so you keep going even though you can barely see. I was scrolling through TikTok when I saw these, and they look really funky, but apparently they're supposed to magnify what you're reading or even what you're looking at on the TV to help your eyes. I don't know if these gonna work, but I definitely am planning to get these. Well, those are my first half of the year book tags. I hope this was just as enjoyable for you to watch as it was for me to share. And I hope the latter half of this year will be even better. As always, thank you for spending your time with me. And until next time, stay safe, be blessed, and remain unapologetically you.